Do you want to know the exact moment a man destroys his entire life? Not a long fall, not a slow crumble, but one tiny mistake. One blink. One tiny red light he never noticed. A cop who thought he owned the streets, a man who believed his badge was a shield that could hide anything, is about to learn the oldest truth in the digital age. Cameras don't lie, even when people do. And the craziest part? He records every second of his own downfall, completely by accident. This is the story of the most important recording he never meant to make. And you're going to want to hear all of it. Rain drips off streetlights like the city is tired of holding secrets. Houses sleep. Roads stay empty except for one patrol car with its engine humming quietly. Officer Daniel Reynolds, 44, decorated on paper, respected on the surface, sits inside gripping his phone like it owes him money. His leg bounces. His breathing is tight. His mind isn't thinking like a cop. It's thinking like a man who's waiting for trouble to arrive carrying cash. On his chest sits a body cam. Activated. Blinking. Recording. But Reynolds doesn't notice it. Not tonight. Not when he's this distracted. A dark sedan glides to a stop beside his cruiser. No headlights, no noise. Like it was designed to slip through the night without leaving footprints. Reynolds wipes his hands on his uniform and steps out. The driver, head covered by a hood, gets out. "You're late," the man says. "Clock says I'm on time," Reynolds replies. The trunk pops open. Inside, a single black duffel. Reynolds lifts it, unzips it and sees money. Stacked, rubber-banded, clean. The kind of cash that doesn't come from legal places. "That's your cut," the man says. "Stay off our blocks." "You pay, I disappear," Reynolds answers. Deal stays simple. The man drives away. Reynolds slides the bag under the passenger seat. Smirks to himself. Thinks he just made easy money. The blinking red light on his chest disagrees. 2 minutes later, a voice breaks the night. "Excuse me, officer." Reynolds jumps, startled and guilty. A teenage girl, maybe 17, stands under a streetlight with her hood up and her backpack clutched tightly. Her name is Mia, though he won't learn that yet. "What are you doing out here?" he asks. "Heading home," she answers. Reynolds notices her looking at his car, at the barely hidden duffel bag. Panic flashes through him. "Let me see your bag," he snaps. "Why?" she asks. He doesn't answer. He just grabs it, dumps it onto the hood. Notebooks, water bottle, cracked headphones. Nothing suspicious. "Can I have it back?" she asks carefully. He steps closer, too close, lowering his voice like a threat. "You didn't see anything. Understand?" "See what?" she asks. He grabs her arm. She pulls away, frightened. Then she sees it right on his chest. That blinking red dot. "Your camera's on," she whispers. Reynolds freezes, looks down, and realizes he recorded the deal. The girl, the threat, everything. His heart drops into his stomach. He sprints to his car and furiously presses buttons on the body cam. Power. Reset. Menu. Nothing works. Body cams don't stop recording until the shift ends. He punches the steering wheel and curses under his breath. Outside, Mia backs away. "Stay away from me," she shouts. He storms out. "Give me your phone," he yells. "No," she cries and runs. He chases her through the rain, slipping on the wet pavement. He's not thinking like a cop. He's thinking like a man about to lose everything. His job, his money, his secret. Mia reaches a convenience store where a young man named Jordan is locking up. "Help!" Mia screams. "He's chasing me." Jordan steps between them, phone already in hand, recording. Reynolds skids to a stop, soaked, panting, wild-eyed. Jordan looks directly at the blinking body cam. "Dude," Jordan says slowly, "you're recording all of this." Reynolds feels the world collapse beneath him. He just ruined his life, and the camera caught every second. He retreats into his patrol car, shaking. The radio crackles to life. Unit 47, confirm body cam status. Continuous recording detected. Reynolds doesn't answer, because he knows he can't. The footage is already saved. And at 3 a.m., it will automatically upload to the department server. He checks his watch. 2:39 a.m. He has 21 minutes left. His hands shake as he dials a number he hoped he'd never need to call. Private number. A dangerous one. It recorded everything, he whispers. The drop-off, the girl, all of it. A cold voice responds. Do not return to the station. If that footage uploads, we all burn. Bring the camera to me. Now. Reynolds hesitates, but he has no options left. He throws the patrol car in drive. But Jordan steps in front of the car, filming. You're not going anywhere, Jordan says. Delete the video, Reynolds growls. No, Jordan says firmly. People like you think you can scare everyone. But you messed up tonight. Reynolds looks at Mia. She looks back. Scared, but stronger now. He can't call backup. Backup means supervisors. Supervisors mean his footage gets downloaded. Downloaded means he's finished. He makes a choice. He lunges at Jordan. Jordan dodges. The phone drops. Reynolds grabs Jordan by the collar. Jordan pushes him back into a puddle, water splashing across the camera lens. Reynolds scrambles up, jumps into his car, and speeds off. Back at the police station, dispatch operator Linda notices the abnormal camera feed. Commander, you need to see this. Reynolds' body cam hasn't stopped recording for 2 hours straight. The commander frowns. Pull it up. The screen shows Reynolds driving fast, whispering to himself. 20 minutes. I can still fix this. 20 minutes. What is he trying to fix? The commander mutters. Reynolds races toward an abandoned warehouse in the industrial district. He meets a man waiting in the shadows, the same voice from the phone. Mr. Kane. Where's the camera? Kane asks. Reynolds hands it over like he's handing over his own death sentence. If this uploads, you're done, Kane says. We all are. He tries breaking it, slams it against metal crates, but the camera barely cracks. It's shockproof, Reynolds mutters, and the storage unit is sealed. Then we remove the storage unit, Kane says calmly. I have tools. He opens a metal case filled with cutters, drills, and electronic tools. Reynolds watches with shaking hands as Kane starts dismantling the camera. But back at the station, Linda stares at her monitor. Sir, he's at the old Lockyard warehouse. The commander's expression stiffens. Why would he go there? He listens closely to the feed. Metal clanking. Kane's voice. Reynolds' fear. And suddenly the commander understands. Reynolds isn't in trouble. Reynolds is trying to cover something up. Get every available unit. The commander orders. We're going after him. Now. Do you ever notice how people can stand in the middle of the truth and somehow still pretend they're surrounded by lies? That's exactly what Officer Grant did. A man so deep into his own power trip that he couldn't see the edge of the cliff he was running toward. But the thing about cliffs? Cameras catch the fall way before the person hits the ground. So picture this. After that night, after the yelling, the struggle, the camera, no one noticed. Something else happened. Something that Officer Grant didn't plan for. Something he couldn't predict. Because when the truth leaks, it doesn't drip. It floods. And this flood was about to swallow him whole. The next morning, the town looked normal on the outside. Kids walking to school, shopkeepers opening up, the soft hum of a too-quiet suburb waking up. But beneath that, underneath the calm, was a storm brewing. A storm with Grant's name carved into its thunder. And the first lightning strike? It happened at the station. Grant walked in like he owned the place. Same heavy boots. Same smug posture. Same energy of a man who thought the badge on his chest was a crown. Except today something was different. The other officers looked at him a little too long. Whispered a little too quietly. Moved a little too carefully. Nothing obvious enough for Grant to pick up. Just enough to make the room feel colder than usual. But Grant ignored it. He always ignored cracks. That's how cracks become fractures. He sat at his desk, logging into the system, when his partner, Officer Morales, walked by. Morales wasn't his friend. They weren't even close. But Morales was one of those guys who saw everything and said nothing. Until this morning. Rough night? Morales asked. Grant didn't look up. I don't know what you're talking about. Morales raised a brow. You sure you got everything under control? Grant paused. That sentence, under control, always hit him wrong. He hated when people implied he didn't. Mind your business, he muttered. Morales nodded slowly. If you say so. And then he walked away, leaving behind a silence thick enough to choke on. But while the station stayed quiet, somewhere else, someone was talking. Miles, the kid from last night, was sitting at his kitchen table, laptop open, hands trembling. His face still swollen, lip cracked, body sore in places that weren't outright visible but screamed every time he moved. His mom paced behind him, furious, terrified, and helpless all at once. You sure you want to do this? She asked, hands gripping the back of his chair. Miles nodded. He can't get away with it. I'm not going to be another one of his stories. His mom swallowed hard. Just be careful. Miles uploaded the footage. And the internet did what it always does. It exploded. At first, it was small shares between friends, comments calling it unbelievable, outrageous, disgusting. But then a local influencer saw it. Then a bigger one. Then a journalist. And before anyone could blink, the video hit 1 million views. Then 2. Then 3. Hashtags started trending. People started recognizing Grant's voice. His face. His badge number. Everything he thought he could hide behind became a spotlight pointed directly at him. And Grant? He had no idea yet. The real unraveling began 3 hours later. Grant was sitting in the patrol car with a coffee in one hand and his radio in the other when dispatch crackled in with a tone he had never heard before. Tight, cautious, almost like the voice on the other end was scared of what they were about to say. Unit 12, return to the station immediately. Command needs you. Grant frowned. Command never needed him. He was a loose cannon, and they usually kept him at arm's length. Something felt off. He drove back slowly, staring at every passing house like it held a secret. When he parked, the chief was already standing outside waiting for him. And not with the usual irritation he greeted Grant with. This time, the man's face was grim, jaw clenched, eyes sharp. Inside. Now. Grant followed him into the office. The blinds were closed. The door was locked. The chief didn't sit down. He didn't even look at Grant at first. He just sighed. A long, exhausted sigh of a man who knew his department was about to become a battlefield. What is this? The chief finally said, turning his computer monitor toward Grant. Grant leaned in, and there it was. His voice, his rage, his threats, his violence, all in perfect 4K clarity. Every second of him abusing his power was now public property. Grant's chest tightened. This is edited. This is fake. The chief stared at him like he was insane. Don't insult me. Don't insult yourself. Just tell me the truth, Grant. Did you do this? Grant's mouth opened, then closed. His brain scrambled, searching for excuses, lies, anything. But everything he thought of sounded worse than silence. So he said nothing. The chief nodded. That's what I thought. You're suspended, effective immediately. Badge, gun, and car. Now. Grant laughed. A bitter, humorless sound. You can't do this. The chief leaned in, voice low. Son, the entire country is watching you right now. You're lucky I'm not arresting you on the spot. Grant's heart hammered. The world he built, his power, his arrogance, his control was collapsing. But the problem with men like Grant? They don't go down quietly. When they lose control, they reach for something else. Something worse. Grant stormed out of the station, ignoring the stares drilling into him. He got into his personal truck and drove. Fast, reckless, angry. Not toward home. Not toward anywhere safe. He drove toward Miles. Because in Grant's mind, Miles wasn't a victim. He was the threat, the problem, the reason Grant's life was falling apart. Grant parked 2 houses down from Miles's place, gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. His breathing was ragged, uneven. His thoughts spiraled louder, darker, more desperate by the second. That kid ruined me. He set me up. I need to end this. I need to fix this. Inside the house, Miles's mom had just finished making tea when she glanced through the window and froze. "Baby," she whispered. "Don't move." Miles looked up. "Mom, it's him." Miles's stomach dropped. "Call someone." She already was. 911 rang once, twice. Then the dispatcher answered. 911, what's your emergency? "My son, Officer Grant, is outside our house. He's suspended. He's armed. Please, send someone now." The dispatcher's tone shifted instantly. "Units are on the way. Stay inside. Stay away from the windows." But Grant wasn't going to wait. He stepped out of his truck, walked toward the house, every step echoing like a countdown. Miles backed away from the window. His breath quickened. His head spun. This wasn't supposed to happen. Posting the video was supposed to bring justice, not danger. But justice always makes the wrong people angry. Outside, Grant walked up to the door and knocked once. The kind of knock that didn't ask, it demanded. "Open the door," he shouted. Miles's mom whispered, "Don't answer. Stay here with me." Grant knocked again. Harder, louder, more furious. "You think you can ruin me? You think you can get away with this?" He slammed the door with his fist. Miles trembled. His mother held him close. But then sirens. Not distant. Not faint. Close. Very close. Grant turned. 2 cruisers. Then 3. Then 4. Lights flashing. Tires screeching. Officers jumping out with weapons drawn. "Grant! Step away from the house." Grant froze. He looked at the officers. Then at the house. Then back at the officers. For the first time in his life, he realized he wasn't the one in control anymore. He was the threat. He was the danger. He was the criminal. And everyone finally saw it. But Grant wasn't the kind of man who surrendered. He reached for something fast. The officers shouted, "Don't move!" But Grant wasn't listening. He never did. And what happened next? It didn't go the way he thought it would. It didn't go the way the officers thought it would. It didn't go the way anyone expected. Because just as Grant reached into his waistband, Miles opened the door, not to surrender, but to shout a single sentence that changed the entire moment. "He's unarmed." Every officer froze. Grant froze. Time froze. And then, everything shattered. Everything shattered the moment Miles yelled that he was unarmed. You could feel it, like the whole world inhaled at once. The officers froze mid-trigger pull, minds scrambling to process what they were seeing. Grant stopped too, his hand hovering near his waistband, confused, thrown off, shaken in a way no one had ever seen from him. Because for the first time in his life, someone stood between him and the consequences of his actions. But not to protect him, no. Miles wasn't saving Grant. Miles was saving everyone else from making the situation worse. From letting a bad man write a final chapter soaked in tragedy. And that moment, one kid yelling the truth, rewired the energy of the entire street. Miles stepped out onto the porch, hands raised high. His voice firm even though his knees looked like they were seconds away from giving out. "He's unarmed. Don't shoot. Don't shoot." His mom screamed behind him, trying to pull him back inside, terrified that her son was stepping into a crossfire he didn't deserve. Grant turned toward Miles slowly, like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "What are you doing?" he whispered, but it came out twisted, half anger, half disbelief. "You think you're some kind of hero?" But Miles didn't flinch. "You're not dying on my doorstep. Not tonight. Not like this." The officers, still with weapons raised, exchanged glances. The entire situation had flipped. Their target was no longer a clear threat. And that's when a voice crackled through a megaphone behind them. Steady, controlled, calm. "Grant, this is over. Step away. Put your hands where we can see them." It was the chief. Grant's eyes darted between the chief, the officers, the house, the flashing lights. He looked like a man who realized he wasn't falling anymore. He was already on the ground, surrounded by pieces he couldn't put back together. "You did this?" Grant hissed at Miles. "You ruined my life." Miles swallowed hard. "No, you ruined your own." And something about those words, simple, honest, sharp as a blade, cut deeper than anything else. For a split second, you could see the truth hit him. He wasn't a victim. He wasn't the hero of his own story. He was the villain finally reaching the end of his script. But villains don't accept that easily. Grant suddenly stepped forward, shouting, "You all want to arrest me? For what? For doing my job? For stopping punks like him from tearing this place apart?" His voice cracked, not in anger, but in desperation. A drowning man grabbing at shadows. The chief stepped closer but kept a safe distance. "Grant, this isn't about last night anymore. This is about everything. Every complaint, every report, every person you hurt. It's all out now. The whole country saw that video." Grant shook his head violently. "It's a hit job. A setup." "No," the chief said quietly. "It's the truth." Grant blinked, and something in him snapped, not in rage but in collapse, like a tower finally accepting gravity. He slowly lifted his hands. The street went silent. The officers moved forward carefully, cuffing him while reading his rights. Grant didn't fight. He didn't shout. He didn't look at anyone. He just stared at the ground like he finally understood the one thing he never allowed himself to feel: accountability. As they walked him to the cruiser, cameras appeared. Neighbors recording, reporters arriving, phones pointed from every angle. Grant, the man who once hid behind every badge, every lie, every threat, was now exposed under more lights than he could outrun. Miles stood on the porch shaking, his mother clutching his arm, tears running down her face. Not out of joy, not out of victory, but out of exhaustion. The kind that only comes from surviving something that tried to crush you. But the story didn't end with the arrest. No, this was just the spark. Within hours, the news was everywhere. Not just the video, now the footage of the standoff, Grant being arrested, the full story, the years of ignored complaints, the victims who had never been heard. It became national, then international. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone had a take. And for once, the loudest voices weren't defending the badge. They were asking the same question. How many more Grants are out there? The police department went into full lockdown. Internal affairs, federal investigators, watchdog groups, attorneys, everyone flooding in to tear apart everything Grant touched. His cases were reopened. His arrests re-examined. His record dissected like a crime scene. For a man who used to hide behind paperwork and silence, the spotlight became the thing that destroyed him. But while all this happened, Miles wasn't celebrating. The internet made him a hero, but heroes rarely feel heroic. He couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't stop replaying the moment Grant walked up to the door. The voice, the footsteps, the anger, the fear. People kept saying, "You saved lives." But trauma doesn't care about praise. His mom tried to protect him, tried to keep the world outside. But the world doesn't stay outside when your face is on every phone screen across the country. Interview requests, news vans, DMs from strangers. Both love and hate pouring in faster than he could process. But the biggest shock came 3 days later. A letter, not from a fan, not from a reporter, not from the police, from Grant, sent from the county holding facility. Miles stared at the envelope for a full minute before opening it. His hands shook, expecting a threat, an insult, more anger. But what he read wasn't anger. It was something worse. It was a confession. Grant wrote that he knew he couldn't take back what he did, or what he caused. He said he spent his entire life believing the badge gave him power because he never had any without it. He admitted he was wrong, that he broke people, that he became the thing he claimed to fight. And at the end, he wrote, "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know, you were brave. Braver than me. Braver than I ever was." Miles folded the letter and put it away, not because he forgave Grant, but because some truths don't disappear just because they hurt. And as the days passed, something unexpected happened. The community changed. People started speaking out, sharing stories, demanding accountability, demanding better officers, better systems, better everything. The video didn't just expose one man. It exposed a pattern, a history, a truth people ignored because it was easier to look away. But not anymore. And the crazy part? The biggest twist hadn't even happened yet. Because the next person who showed up at Miles's door would change everything. 3 days after the letter arrived, after the interviews stopped, after the online noise finally dipped from a roar to a low hum, something happened that Miles never expected. A knock. Not loud, not frantic, just a soft, steady knock that somehow felt heavier than any police pounding ever had. Miles opened the door, slowly at first, cautiously, and saw a man standing on the porch. Not a reporter, not a cop, not a neighbor looking for gossip. A man in his late 40s, calm eyes, worn face, suit slightly wrinkled from travel. He didn't introduce himself right away. He didn't smile. He just nodded once and said, "You must be Miles." Miles tightened his grip on the door. "Who are you?" The man reached into his pocket and held out a badge, but not the kind that terrified Miles. No silver star, no gun. A simple ID card with 3 letters that instantly changed the temperature of the air around them. DOJ, Department of Justice. Miles blinked. "Are we in trouble?" "No," the man said quietly. "You're the reason we're here." The words didn't make sense at first. Miles stepped back, letting the man inside. His mom appeared behind him, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel, her expression switching from confused to alert in a heartbeat. "I'm Special Agent Carter," the man said. "I'm leading the federal review of your local department, including the investigation into Officer Grant." Miles's mom crossed her arms. "We already told our story to the state police, the investigators, the journalists. What else do you want from us?" Carter shook his head. "Not what I want. What you deserve." Miles frowned. "What does that mean?" Carter took a deep breath, like he was about to unwrap a truth heavier than anyone in the room was ready for. "Your case wasn't the first time Grant hurt someone. It wasn't the second. It wasn't even the 10th. Miles's stomach dropped. Carter continued, "But it was the first time someone caught him on video. The first time we have undeniable, unshakable evidence. And because of that, people from years ago, people who were too scared to speak, are coming forward now." Silence. Thick. Heavy. Electric. Miles's mom sat down slowly, hand over her mouth. "Years. Years," Carter repeated. "And now we need your help. Not to relive it, not to traumatize you again, but to help us stop anyone else like him from slipping through again." Miles felt something he hadn't felt since the video went viral. Purpose. Not fame. Not fear. Purpose. "What do you need me to do?" Agent Carter leaned forward. "You don't have to talk to cameras anymore. You don't have to talk to the whole world. You just have to talk to us. Behind closed doors. Quietly. Safely. And help us understand everything that happened that night." Miles nodded. "I can do that." But Carter wasn't finished. "There's something else," he said, lowering his voice. "Something I need to warn you about." Both Miles and his mom tensed. Carter set down a small folder on the table. Grant's arrest. It didn't sit well with everyone. He had people in the department who covered for him for years. Officers. Supervisors. People who filed paperwork to protect him. People who learned from him. Miles felt the hairs on his neck stand up. "What are you saying?" his mom whispered. Carter opened the folder slowly. Inside were photos, names, internal reports, suspended badges. "These officers," Carter said, tapping the papers, "are currently under investigation, and some of them are not handling it well." A chill moved through the room like a cold wind. Miles swallowed. "Are we in danger?" Carter held his gaze. "Not from Grant. He's locked up tight. But there are people who were part of the same culture who might want to intimidate you, silence you, or discredit you." Miles's mom grabbed his hand, squeezing it so tightly he winced. Carter continued, "That's why I came personally. You're going to notice patrol cars on your street for the next few weeks. Don't worry, that's us, not them. And if anyone approaches you claiming to be law enforcement, you call me first. He slid a card across the table. Direct line. Federal seal. No nonsense. But the most important thing, Carter said, is this: don't trust everyone who wears a badge right now. Some of them are exactly who we're investigating. Miles felt his heartbeat hammering in his chest. Everything he thought was over had just begun. Grant wasn't the only rot. He was just the first piece ripped out of the wall. And now the whole building was shaking. Carter stood. We're going to clean this up. But we can't do it without you. Miles asked quietly, why me? Why are you putting all of this on me? Carter gave the smallest, saddest smile. Because you did something grown men were too scared to do. You told the truth even when it hurt. And once the truth gets out, it doesn't stop. It forces everything else into the light. He paused at the door. But I need you to understand something, Miles. The spotlight is a weapon. And you have to decide if you're going to let it burn you or use it. And with that, Carter walked out. The door closed. The house fell silent. Miles stood there, chest tight, mind spinning. He thought posting the video would be the end of it. He thought Grant being arrested would end the fear, end the noise, end the danger. But it didn't end anything. It started a war. A quiet war. A hidden war. A war where the enemy didn't wear a mask. They wore uniforms. And as Miles looked down at the folder Carter left behind, at the names of officers he recognized from his own neighborhood, he realized something. This story wasn't about one bad cop anymore. This was bigger, much bigger, and the next battle was already on its way.